It was quiet, clean, and cozy in the hospital room, almost like at home, which wasn't surprising because it was a very expensive private clinic. Only very rich women gave birth there. Kaylee was one of them. The girl was 24 years old, pretty, with a pleasant smile and kind eyes. She was calm and easygoing. But now Haley was not herself. She was nervous, paced back and forth, and couldn't calm down. The woman was getting ready to become a mom. Moreover, she was expecting triplets. Such cases were very rare in this clinic and in even the city, so doctors were always around her, examining her again and again, taking endless tests, and deciding whether she needed a cesarean section or not. Haley was very afraid of the surgery and wanted to avoid it by all means, but the obstetricians doubted that she could cope on her own. It was very exhausting for the woman in labor. But what frightened Haley even more was that, in fact, she would become a single mother, even though she was in a sham marriage. It was such a messed up story, and it was all her strict father's fault. As soon as she lay down and tried to sleep, all the events of her complicated life immediately popped up in her mind, and these thoughts made her feel quite bad. Haley was the adopted daughter of her rich father, a famous businessman, Alan. He adopted her at the age of 5 and never hid it. On the contrary, he was proud of his deed. The girl hardly remembered anything about that other life in the orphanage, only some fragments. Yelling angry caretaker Polly, disgusting soup, and constant fights with other children. Since that time, Haley got used to obeying the elders and not arguing with them. It remained the same after she was adopted. Of course, now she lived in a magnificent mansion. She no longer had to hide bread and candy under the pillow because she had everything she wanted. But her father was too strict and demanding. Her whole life was scheduled by the minute, as Daddy saw fit. The girl went to school, then to the swimming and English lessons, and only then home. Haley studied perfectly well. She was very clever, but still, she was just a child. Sometimes she wanted to play with the kids, to go to the cinema with her classmates or sleep until dinner, and to skip school at least once. But Daddy didn't approve. He strictly forbade her to do what she wanted and made sure that she studied diligently and matched his position. After high school, she went to the university and graduated with honors. No friends or nightclubs. Her father didn't approve. Her father tried to instill business savvy in her, telling her how to run a business and how to protect herself so that competitors wouldn't destroy her. But he was completely disappointed. Haley was too soft, quiet, and kind, and she didn't fit in with the entrepreneurs. Then Alan changed his tactics and insisted that Haley should get married as soon as possible and give birth to heirs because he needed to entrust the business to someone in his old age since his daughter was not capable of running it. Daddy didn't wait long and found a promising fiancé for his daughter, Martin, the governor's son. He had long ago calculated all the prospects of such a connection and was already expecting the benefits. Haley didn't dare to disobey the strict daddy and began to date the guy. At first, there was even sympathy between the young people, but soon it became clear that they were completely different. Martin was very hot-tempered, sharp, and loved the extreme. He needed thrill literally in everything. Haley was completely different. It was strange to her and frightened her. She liked to walk quietly in the park, read a book in silence, and listen to soft music. At clubs and rock shows, where Martin regularly took her, she felt uncomfortable, had a headache from the loud music and the noisy crowd, and wanted to run away. Martin was bored to death at home. He was freaking out and soon had an affair with a cool biker girl, Mia. So the couple broke up, unable to create a family. Alan was indignant, scolding Haley. "Haley, what the hell? You can't work in my business, and you don't want to get married. You lost such a promising fiancé. How could you? You know what, my dear? Do what you want, but give me a grandchild, okay? Tomorrow we'll go to the fertility center. I've arranged an appointment with a great doctor. He'll examine you and tell you whether you can give birth or not. You've been living with Martin for 6 months. and you haven't gotten pregnant. Maybe you have a problem. At first, Haley was very offended. She thought that he was rudely prying into her life, and he even dared to accuse her of being infertile. He treated her like a dummy. She was sick of it. But out of habit, the girl obeyed again and agreed to go to the fertility center. In fact, she was also worried. After a thorough examination, the doctor made a conclusion that shocked Haley. Please take a seat and listen. I'm going to tell you something that will probably upset you very much. You have congenital abnormalities, which is why you will never be able to get pregnant. Alas, Haley cried in shock. She had never expected to hear such a thing. She will never be able to become a mom. But the doctor reassured her, don't cry, things are not as hopeless as they seem. Medicine has advanced a long time ago, and now nothing is impossible. Yes, you can't get pregnant in a natural way, but that's why they invented the artificial insemination procedure. We will take the material from you and your partner and transfer it to the uterus, and then everything will happen naturally. Yes, I will not hide. It is expensive, but there is a big chance to give birth to twins or even triplets at once. We transfer several embryos just in case. Trust me, we have 85% successful outcomes, and hundreds of families have successfully become parents. So don't despair. You have that chance too. Haley smiled through her tears. Thank you, doctor, that's really encouraging. As soon as I get married, I'll come to you right away. But it's too early to think about it. I don't even have a boyfriend. The girl did not even suspect that her father was standing outside the door and heard their conversation. Alan was obsessed with the idea. He literally was delirious. He needed grandchildren and kept urging Haley to take this crazy step. The girl was reluctant at first. Daddy, how do you imagine it? We broke up with Martin. I don't even have a candidate to be a father. What children are you talking about? Who's going to be the baby's daddy? And what's the rush? After all, I'm not 40 years old. But the businessman did not stop. Darling, try to hear and understand me. Yes, you are not 40 years old, but I'm already in my 60th. I raised you like my own daughter. I've never denied you anything. The best tutors, expensive clothes, and smartphones. And now the only thing I'm asking you to do is to give me a grandchild. The doctor said you can't get pregnant on your own. So why wait? I'll look through the donor database, study their backgrounds, and choose the best one. If not now, when? I may not have enough time to get my grandchildren on their feet, you know. And then what? My empire, which I've been building all these years, will collapse or be taken over by competitors. Don't worry, I'll arrange everything in the best way. I'll even find a fake husband to show up in public with you sometimes. No one will suspect anything. And then we'll tell everyone that you divorced him. Come on, do it. I'm begging you. Haley couldn't accept the idea. She thought that everything her father had in mind was unnatural, and nothing good would come of it. So, her father was simply using her as a means of giving birth to grandchildren, nothing more. And for some reason it made her feel so hurt, so sick. He had decided everything for her again. But, on the other hand, there was some truth in what he said. Haley didn't want and was very afraid to remain childless, and this way she would have a son or a daughter and would be happy. Now she can only get pregnant by a stranger. So what? There are so many cases when the fiancé left the girl when she was already pregnant. It's even worse. And such girls give birth, live happily, and even get married later. In general, after thinking about it, Haley obeyed her father as always and agreed to undergo the procedure. Everything was surprisingly successful. Haley got pregnant at the first attempt. But when the ultrasound revealed that she would have triplets, the girl was shocked. She dreamed of being a mom, but she didn't expect that she would have to give birth to 3 babies at once. Haley was definitely not ready for that. Alan, on the other hand, was overjoyed. 3 heirs at once, especially since 2 of them were boys. Isn't that happiness? It was as if a new life had begun for the businessman. He began to make plans for the future, surrounded his daughter with care, literally forced her to eat vitamins, bought only organic products, made sure that Haley went for walks and was examined on time. And 2 weeks before the birth, he said that it was time to be admitted to the hospital and took her to a private clinic so that the doctors could monitor her around the clock. What if the contractions start earlier? But that didn't help Haley calm down. Her mind was filled with thoughts. How will the labor go? Will there really be a surgery? How will I cope with 3 babies? Will I be able to love them? Oh my gosh, why did I agree to this nonsense? Dad decided everything for me, as usual. Why is my life so complicated? I have never even been in love. I don't count Martin. That was my dad's plan, too. I don't feel like I'm living my own life, but my father's. And nobody cares about my wishes since I was born. From all these thoughts and sad memories, Haley's stomach really started to ache and her side stabbed sharply. The girl was frightened and screamed, "Help! I'm in labor." When she cried out, everyone came running to her. They called her doctor, who was hired by her father long before the birth, and it began. If Haley only knew how painful and scary it was to give birth, she would have taken back all her words that she absolutely refused to have surgery. 4 hours of agony and pain, the skills and experience of the doctor, and finally 3 twins were born one after another: Brandon, David, and Julia. The names were also given by her father. Haley only gave the name to the girl. When they gave her the babies one by one, Haley suddenly melted, and all her doubts went away. Of course, she would love them. Those dear noses and eyes. The babies snuffle, trying to grasp the breast, and tears of happiness flowed down Haley's cheeks. She realized that children are a miracle. The nurses immediately called her father and told him the happy news. He shouted and cried into the phone. He was so happy. And exhausted by long labor, Haley finally fell asleep. The days flew by quickly, and the discharge was approaching. Of course, her father had taken care of everything in advance, and 3 beautiful snow-white envelopes of baby clothes were waiting in the room. But Haley suddenly felt sad. She heard the nurses gossiping about her. That rich girl is so strange. She gave birth to triplets, but nobody knows who the father of the children is. She's silent as a fish. Only her father cares about her, and no one else. Probably her boyfriend left her. Or maybe she doesn't even know who is the father of her children. Shameless. This gossiping made Haley feel uncomfortable. She felt so hurt. She wanted to tell everyone that she was not shameless, or at least make it so that she was picked up from the hospital not by her father, but by some young man. She told her father on the phone, "Where's your fake husband? Why isn't he around right now? Do you even know what they are saying about me? I'm ashamed to even repeat it." Alan only made excuses. "There was a problem with your husband. He took the money and immediately went abroad. Apparently, he was afraid that I would really force him to marry you. Well, don't worry, darling. I don't care about this gossip. Don't worry about it, or you'll lose your milk. I'll meet you properly. I'll even hire a limousine. Take care of the babies and I'll take care of the rest." Haley hung up the phone angrily. Her father got what he wanted, and he didn't care about his daughter's worries, and then one crazy plan came to her mind. In the morning, Haley fed and dressed the babies and put them to bed. Then she called the nurse and began to whisper to her, "Lisa, help me. Let me go for half an hour. I'll go outside, get some fresh air, and stop by the store for a minute. The babies will sleep for at least an hour. Just babysit my kids, please." Lisa stared at her dumbfounded. "Haley, I can't. This is a maternity hospital. It has to be sterile. You can't go outside and then come back in. I'll get in trouble if anyone finds out. And if you don't come back at all, what then?" Such cases happen too. A woman's mind changes after childbirth. Maybe you have postpartum depression. Haley pulled some cash out of her purse and slipped it into the nurse's pocket. "How about this? Don't worry. I'm not going to run away. I really just want to get some fresh air. You know whose daughter I am. Today is a day off anyway, there is no one here, and the doctor on duty is in another ward. I found out everything. I really need to go outside. The nurse only said, go. But if the doctor finds out, I didn't see you and I didn't let you go outside. And come back soon. Don't let me down, please. I look after the little ones, don't worry. Haley kissed her babies, adjusted their blankets, dressed hastily, and went outside. She was so obsessed with her idea that she was willing to do anything crazy. The girl noticed a young handsome guy walking towards her. She immediately rushed over to him. Excuse me, what's your name? Can I ask you something? The guy raised an eyebrow in surprise. Michael, why? Do we know each other? The girl began to explain confusingly. My name is Haley. I have a request for you. You know, I gave birth to triplets, and I'm about to be discharged, but there's no one to pick me up. Could you please pretend to be my husband for just an hour? Pick me up from the hospital so everyone can see us together. I'll pay you for that. You're not losing anything. On the contrary, you will earn good money. But the guy twisted his finger at his temple. Are you out of your mind? No, I don't play such games. First, you just ask me to hold your babies, and then you tell everyone at the hospital that I'm their biological father. You'll put my name on the papers and make me pay child support. I don't want any surprises like that. Excuse me, I have to go, I'm in a hurry. And the young man walked quickly away. Haley fell into despair. What had she expected? That the first man she met would agree to pick her up from the hospital. That was nonsense. But she didn't want the whole hospital staff to stare out the windows watching her father pick her up. Suddenly she noticed a homeless man in the distance, going through the contents of a garbage can looking for glass bottles. Haley took a closer look at him. The guy was young, about her age. Nice looking, not an alcoholic. Yes, he was poorly dressed, wearing old worn jeans, a plaid shirt, and shabby dusty sneakers, but he didn't look like most of the bums. He probably became homeless recently. Should she take a chance? But it would be a shame if a homeless man came to pick her up. Maybe it would be better if her father picked her up. The stranger noticed that the girl was looking at him intently. He stopped doing what he was doing and politely inquired, "Good afternoon, miss. Why are you looking at me like that? Do you need any help? You look like you're on the brink of an abyss. There's hopelessness in your eyes." Haley suddenly made up her mind and asked, "Yes, you're right, I do need help. Do you want to make a lot of money? In just 1 hour?" The guy couldn't believe his ears. Of course, everybody wants to make a lot of money. I'm willing to do anything for such a beautiful girl, but only if it's legal. Otherwise, I don't need any trouble with the police. I already have enough. Haley exhaled, took a risk, and told the bum everything. At the end, she added, "Here, Nicholas, take my bank card. I wrote the code on a piece of paper. Withdraw the money, clean yourself up, buy a good suit, flowers, balloons, and tomorrow at 11 o'clock wait for me near the maternity ward, and don't forget to order a cab. If you play the role of my husband well, I'll pay extra." "Agreed," the boy smiled. "Well, honestly, your request is very strange, but I need the money urgently. So I will do everything in the best way. Do not doubt. I won't let you down." Haley smiled as well. "All right then, see you tomorrow. I'll be waiting." "I don't know why, but I trust you." The woman rushed back to the clinic. No one noticed that she was not there for a while, and the babies were sound asleep. Everything went smoothly. Her heart was literally jumping out of her chest. It was the first time in her life that she had ever allowed herself to disobey her father and do everything her own way. Haley had only talked to Nicholas for a few minutes, but she felt like he was a kind and honest guy who was in some trouble. But he definitely wouldn't disappear with her car. But still, the risk was great. But there was no turning back. Haley really wanted to believe that tomorrow a handsome man would come here with flowers and pick her up from the hospital, and not her father. No matter that it was not her husband, no matter that they knew each other for only 5 minutes, the main thing was that everyone would see that she was not alone, that someone needed her, that someone cared about her. Her crazy idea was not just another rich girl's desire, but rather a cry of despair, because Haley, like any woman, desperately wanted to be loved and happy. But her father always drove her into rigid limits, imposed what was important only to him, and she could not get out of this golden cage. The day of discharge had come. Haley had been excited since morning, looking forward to the event. At 11 o'clock, she went outside with the babies and looked around confusedly, hoping to see Nicholas. And then she saw her fake husband with 2 policemen. He was wearing an expensive suit and had a huge bouquet of flowers and balloons in his hands. He was clean, with a stylish haircut. The guy looked really good and didn't look like a bum at all. But why are the police here? What's going on? I don't need any more trouble right now, Haley thought confusedly. The nurses also got ready to watch the show. Something like this doesn't happen very often. One of the policemen turned to Haley. Good afternoon. Are you Haley? This man withdrew money from your car. A lot of money. Did he steal it from you? He swears that he is your husband. Is that true? Haley nodded her head, trying to look relaxed and natural. Oh, I'm sorry, there's been a misunderstanding. Yes, that's my husband. I gave him the card myself. So it's okay. Sorry, we're having a celebration. We're taking the babies home. We have triplets. Can we go home? The policeman only replied, Oh, we are sorry. We had to make sure your card wasn't stolen. Congratulations. Have a nice day. The policeman left, and Nicholas, as if nothing had happened, rushed to hug Haley, handed her a bouquet of flowers, and took 2 baby boys from the nurse's arms, and Haley took the girl. The guy said, Honey, thank you for our babies. I'm sorry I couldn't come back from my business trip sooner. I love you so much, my dear. Let's go home and celebrate. The couple got into a cab and drove away. The nurses were very surprised. No one expected that this mysterious rich woman had a husband. Haley was happy, despite the incident with the police. She was shining because everything went perfectly. The young mom thanked the guy. Thank you so much, Nicholas. You literally saved me. I think everyone believed that you and I were a couple. You were brilliant pretending to be my husband. You don't have to return the car. Withdraw the rest of the money from it. It's my second car. I don't keep large sums there. Thank you for your help and good luck. The guy felt embarrassed and replied quietly, It was a pleasure to help you, Haley. And I really enjoyed being the husband of such a beautiful woman. It's a shame our marriage ended so quickly. I can't offer you anything. You're a princess and I'm a beggar. But if you ever need any help again, you know where to find me. Good luck to you too, Haley. Your babies are adorable. It was nice to meet you. And so they went their separate ways. Alan was indignant when he saw Haley at home with the kids. Haley, what the hell? You left the hospital alone, in a cab. Why? We agreed I'd pick you up at 2 o'clock. But Haley lied confidently. The discharge was rescheduled. It happens. Don't worry, it's fine. Well, Grandpa, meet your long-awaited grandchildren. Honestly, I don't know how I'm going to cope with 3 of them on my own. We need to hire a nanny. The father immediately frowned and replied sharply, We don't need a nanny. You can cope with everything on your own. Learn to overcome difficulties, dear. I'll hire a nanny, but for 3 hours a day, no more. You should not relax. You're a mother now, so bring up your children. It's your full-time job now. Haley felt so hurt. Her father said it like she's not capable of anything else. Why is he talking to her like that? He begged her to give him grandchildren, and now he's forcing her to do everything on her own. From then on, Haley's life became a living hell. Especially in the first 6 months. The babies didn't want to eat or sleep at the same time. As soon as one of them fell asleep, the other one would scream, and it happened again and again. The children had tummy aches, then toothache. In general, there was enough trouble. The situation was a little saved by an experienced nanny, Helen. When she saw that the young mom was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, she immediately took the babies for a walk and told Haley, "Leave all the chores and go to bed. Otherwise, soon you won't be able to get out of bed in the morning. You're exhausted." "I don't understand, Alan. I could work all day. It would be so much easier for you. It's not easy to raise 3 babies on your own. Why is your father so stubborn? Doesn't he see how hard it is for you?" Haley only sighed and shrugged her shoulders. "I don't know, Helen, I can't understand it myself. But I'm so tired. I don't even have the strength to talk. I'm going to bed." And she'd instantly fall into a deep sleep. When the children turned 6 months old, it became easier. They could already sit and play with each other in the playpen while Haley was doing housework. The girl had already gotten used to it and developed a schedule for herself. Her father loved his grandchildren, spent his weekends with them with great pleasure, and waited for them to walk. One day the nanny was sick, so Haley went for a walk in the park with the children herself. She didn't even realize she was walking down the path where she had met Nicholas. It was hard to believe, but he was still there as if time had stopped. The guy was diligently painting the benches. Haley called out to him first. "Nicholas, hello. I'm so glad to see you. How are you? I see you found a job already. Good for you." The guy looked embarrassed and blushed, but he was clearly happy to see her. "Hi, Haley. You're looking so good. You've lost weight. And the babies have grown up. They are so cute. Your daughter looks a lot like you, but the boys are different. I guess they look like their father. Well, it's just a part-time temporary job, but it's much better than looking for bottles in garbage cans. I'm so ashamed to tell you this, but this is my life." Haley sat down on the bench, gave the children water, and cautiously asked Nicholas, "Listen, why don't you get a normal job? I can see that you are a smart, hard-working, normal guy. Why are you homeless? Where do you sleep? Don't you want to share? What if I can help you? Aren't you tired of this homeless life? I'm not trying to offend you. I just want to understand." Nicholas sighed heavily and began to share his feelings. He had been wanting to tell someone about it for a long time. "Yes, you're right, Haley. It's not life, it's punishment. And I don't like living like this. But what can I do? It's my own fault. I grew up in a normal family with my mom. We had an apartment. I couldn't find out anything about my father, no matter how hard I tried. But I had the best mom. She loved me and helped me a lot. She worked as a cook in the canteen all her life, and always brought me hot pies and other delicious treats. But she was exhausted because she was raising me alone. But I didn't understand it. I only hung out with my friends. I didn't want to study and kept demanding a new phone or computer. My mom was trying her best. She took extra shifts on weekends too, just so that I would not lack anything. But I wanted a beautiful life. Like in TV shows, I wanted to spend a lot of money and not deny myself anything. After high school, I finished college, and my mother helped me to get a job at a factory as an electrician. But I kept arguing with her, fighting with her. I thought that she was thinking in old stereotypes, not letting me spread my wings. I was sure that my life was miserable. I wanted to get everything at once. For example, to win the lottery or to do something else quickly and easily to get rich. So I joined a bad company and started drinking and gambling. And I became addicted. I was wasting all my salary there, expecting that I was about to win a big score and become rich. My mom was so worried about me, scolding me, trying to talk sense into me, but I didn't hear her at all. My mom couldn't stand it. She couldn't watch me ruining my life. Soon she got sick and died of a heart attack. It was all my fault. I drove her to the grave. When my mom was around, it was as if I didn't notice her. But after her death, I suddenly came to my senses. The apartment became so empty. No one asked me with love, "How are you doing today, dear? How was your day? I love you so much." I used to be so annoyed by her constant questioning, but now I would pay any price just to hug my mommy. So I stopped gambling for a while, but my friends were following me, and I started gambling again. So that's how I lost the apartment, or rather, some criminals took it from me. And when I tried to get it back, they beat me up and told me to disappear forever, otherwise they threatened to kill me. They took away my passport to make sure I didn't file a report. That's how I became homeless. It's good that my grandmother left me an old shabby house on the outskirts of the city. That's where I live now. I can't even get a normal job without ID. Now you know everything about me, princess. This is my payback for everything I've done. Haley was shocked. She didn't understand. But a passport can be recovered, right? Just tell them you lost it. Fill out an application and they'll give you a new one, although you have to pay a fine. But I'll give you money for it, don't worry. Nicholas scratched the back of his head. It's not about money, although it's about money too. I'm afraid of those idiots, you know. But you're right, I have to do something. I'm so sick of this homeless life. What about you? You still haven't made up with the father of your kids, raising them alone. It must be hard, huh? Haley suddenly said. There was no father of the children. I was like the Virgin Mary. I agreed to get an immaculate conception. I agreed to the procedure because my father said so. If I told anyone about it, no one would believe me. You know, I'm rich. My father has a lot of money, but that doesn't make me feel any better. And she told the guy everything, since her childhood, everything that tormented her soul for all these years. Why? She didn't know. She just needed someone to listen to her. And at the end, she added, but you know, despite all the difficulties, I love my children very much. And it doesn't matter who's the father. They are mine. I don't need to know anything else. But I'm definitely not gonna have a love life anymore. Who will need me with 3 kids? But that's okay. I'll live for the sake of my babies. Nicholas was shocked by what he heard and said, wow, you are a heroic mother. Not everyone dares to do such a thing. Your father is a strange man. Why does he do such cruel things to you? Is that love? Looks like you and I are both unlucky. We took a wrong turn somewhere in life. You know, Haley, I'm so glad we met. I've often thought of you because that first time we met was like an amazing adventure for me. And I also feel so peaceful and good around you. It was so nice just to sit and talk. It's such a small thing, but it makes my soul feel so much better. Haley smiled. That's right. Why don't we meet here in the park more often? I need to walk with the kids every day. Come back tomorrow and we'll talk again. Agreed. So they began to see each other almost every day. They could talk for hours. It turned out that they were so alike. They had the same tastes in food, music, and movies. Haley gave Nicholas an inexpensive cell phone, and now they were always in touch. Of course, soon Alan was informed that his daughter was regularly talking to some suspicious vagrant in the park. The businessman was furious and scolded Haley at home. Dear, are you out of your mind? Did something happen to your head after childbirth? Why are you making friends with vagrants? Why do strangers tell me this? I almost burned with shame when I heard such a thing. Haley was frightened and began to make excuses out of habit. Daddy, please don't shout, or you'll wake the babies. Nicholas is a nice guy, and we are friends. You know how polite and clever he is. It's nice to talk to him. He became homeless by accident. Soon, he'll get his ID back, and he'll be like any other ordinary person. Alan became furious. Haley, why are you so weird? Why did you decide to be friends with a bum? Or maybe you fell in love with that bum. I forbid you to see him. Don't disgrace my family name. Haley suddenly got angry, probably for the first time in her life, and started yelling. I'm so sick of your family name, Daddy. I wish you had left me at the orphanage back then. You didn't save me, you ruined my life. You don't let me live. You don't let me breathe. Everything has to be done the way you want. Don't you realize that you ruined my youth and my life? You never once asked me what I wanted during my entire childhood. If you ask me, I hated that stupid swimming. I'm still afraid of water. And this IVF. Did you think of me when you forced me to do it? Is this how a father should show love to his daughter, who needs me now with 3 kids? Yes, I love my kids. I live for them. But I'm only 24 years old. And I have a right to have a personal life. Enough. I'm sick of it. This is my life. And I'll date or be friends with whomever I see fit. The businessman was shocked. His daughter had never let herself talk to him like that before. He clenched his fists and barked. Oh, really? Ungrateful. It's not even your opinion. Your new friend has convinced you of that. But that's okay. I'll fix it. Don't leave the house. Stay with the kids. That's your job. Haley cried bitterly and wandered into the nursery. And when she heard Brandon crying, she began to change his diaper. She felt so bad, so hurt. Why her daddy doesn't love her? Why doesn't he try to listen to her, to understand her? Why doesn't he let her live? Will it always be like this? Alan was indignant, walking around the office and feverishly thinking about how to save his daughter from this rascal. Otherwise, she would really fall in love with him and bring this bum into the house. So he summoned the head of the security department and ordered him, Stanley, listen to me. You need to follow my daughter. She has a meeting with a guy in the park. You have to talk to him, threaten him, tell him to stay away from her. Tell him I'll put him in jail. I'll find for what I'm sure these vagrants are probably all committing crimes. And don't delay, it's very important. Haley didn't listen to her father, and a couple of days later she met Nicholas again. She was so upset by her dad's behavior that she told her friend about it. He only shook his head, and then replied indignantly, "Your father is a tyrant. Why does he think he has the right to control your life? You know, Haley, since I met you, I have changed a lot, and now I look at life in a completely different way. I've decided to start from scratch. I'll solve the problem with my ID as soon as possible. I promise, as soon as everything is ready, I'll find a decent job and help you. I want you to leave your father and try to start your own life too. Not the kind of life your father wants, but the kind of life you want for yourself. I realize that it will be very difficult for you with 3 kids, but I will be there for you, and together we will handle it. We both need to change something in our lives to be happy. What do you think?" Haley was amazed at how accurately Nicholas had expressed her own thoughts and dreams. She quietly replied, "It's my pipe dream that my dad would leave me alone and stay out of my life. I certainly won't dare to take such a desperate step alone. But if you were there for me, I'd like that very much. But let's solve all your problems first, and then we'll see. I like you very much, Nicholas. We are soulmates, and I really hope we won't part. Okay, I gotta go. I'll see you this weekend. I'll be really looking forward to our next meeting. Bye." Nicholas hugged her warmly, then stroked the cheeks of the children, who were already smiling at him, and went home in high spirits, determined to change everything. Haley had literally turned his whole life upside down, entering it like a hurricane. Now all his thoughts were only about her. He admired her courage and patience, admired her sweet smile. He had never felt such strong feelings for anyone in his life. It was not passion, not love, but something more, a deep mental connection and fear of losing her. But the boy had no idea what was waiting for him near his own house. Some tough guys attacked him, kicking him and repeating, "Stay away from her, okay? Otherwise, you won't get out of here alive." The guy covered his head with his hands, fell down, and when he was already losing consciousness, he still whispered stubbornly, "You can do what you want with me, but I am not going to leave her." Haley waited for the weekend, dressed the little ones, and went for a walk with a smile, anticipating meeting Nicholas. She had so much news to share. Brandon and David had just learned to crawl yesterday, and Julia was already saying the word mommy clearly. But to her surprise, Nicholas was not at their favorite bench. She waited for him for an hour, walking back and forth with the kids, calling him endlessly. But his phone was off. Haley was very upset and began to worry, wondering what could have happened. Why and where Nicholas had disappeared. Then she decided to walk to his old house. She knew the address. It wasn't far away. Strangely, there was a lock on the door, so no one was there. And then Haley noticed the crumpled grass nearby and a dry puddle of blood. Her heart clenched. Haley started pounding on the neighbor's door. An elderly gray-haired man came out. The young mom began to question him anxiously. "Excuse me, have you seen Nicholas? I can't reach him. And he's not at home." The neighbor sighed. "Something happened a couple of days ago, on Thursday. I was on my way back from the store, and I saw Nicholas lying unconscious, in a puddle of blood, injured. So I called an ambulance. They took him to the city hospital. I feel so sorry for the guy. Who could injure him like that?" Haley's legs gave out. She felt unwell. She immediately called the babysitter, left the babies with her, and rushed to the hospital. All she could think about was, "Oh my gosh, how's Nicholas? Is he okay? He has no ID. Will they even admit him to the hospital? I have to help him. I can't just leave him in trouble." It took Haley a long time to find out what hospital the guy was admitted to. Finally, the nurse found out everything from the doctor and quietly said, lowering her eyes, "I'm sorry, but your friend fell into a coma yesterday. He has severe injuries and concussion, and he is on the verge of life and death." The woman cried. "No. How could it be? What kind of people could do that? He was so kind. Maybe he needs some medicine. I'll get everything. Just save him, I beg you." The doctor came to her. They talked for a long time, and he promised to inform her about any changes in Nicholas' condition. Haley paid for all the procedures and care for him and began to visit him in the hospital regularly. But every time she was told the same thing. "The condition is critical. There is no progress. Prepare for the worst." Haley sobbed. She couldn't accept that she was going to lose Nicholas. She prayed for his health and believed he would get better. She hated those bastards who had beaten him so badly. But trouble doesn't come alone. A week later, the police came to Haley's house. The father was arrested and accused of beating Nicholas. His deputy filed a report against him and provided a video, recorded on a phone, showing the beating of a homeless man. Haley could not believe what she was hearing and broke out in hysterics. "Daddy, tell me it's not true. You couldn't do such a thing, could you? How could you beat a man to death? Why? Answer me. I want to know the truth." The shocked businessman didn't try to deny it and quietly replied, "Yes, I told my security chief to talk to this vagrant and tell him to stay away from you. But I didn't tell them to kill him. I didn't mean to do that, daughter. I'm sorry." Haley watched as her father was taken away and whispered, "I hate you, Daddy. You ruined my life again. You've destroyed it. Why? How dare you? What did Nicholas do to you?" Alan didn't understand anything himself. "Why did they do that? I only told them to talk to him, not to kill him. Someone has obviously set me up. But how can I prove it to Haley? My daughter hates me now and thinks I'm a murderer. What if this poor man really dies? What then? Oh my gosh, what have I done? Why did I think I could decide for her? It's because of my damn ambitions. I feel sorry for the guy. He's young, the same age as my daughter." It was a difficult time for Haley. She was torn between the hospital and the children. Everything fell on her fragile shoulders. Although she was very mad at her father, but still, gave him warm clothes and everything he needed and hired a lawyer. She couldn't do otherwise. Since early childhood, Haley knew that her father could be tough and strict, but he would never lie. Under no circumstances, he hated lying. So, someone had really set Daddy up. Had beaten Nicholas almost to death on purpose, so that Daddy would go to jail. One day, Haley was walking from the hospital, and she had no more strength for anything. Nicholas was not getting any better, and the doctors didn't know what to do. Her father had a heart attack and was in the prison hospital. And at home, she had 3 babies waiting for her, demanding her attention. She decided to go to the church, to light a candle, and to order a prayer for the health of Nicholas and Daddy. She prayed so frantically, whispering from her soul, from her heart. asking not to take her loved ones away from her. Incredibly, the next day a real miracle happened. Haley received a call from the doctor informing her that Nicholas was awake, out of his coma. Haley could not believe it. She immediately went to the hospital to visit her best friend. The guy was still too weak. He only smiled weakly, looking at Haley. She sat next to him and told him everything she had been through during those days. Then she added, "Nicholas, my dad swears he didn't order them to attack you. He only asked to have a serious conversation to keep you away from me. He doesn't know why or who beat you so severely. I don't think he's lying. He's never lied to me about anything. Dad had a heart attack in prison. I'm mad at him, but I feel sorry for him. He messed up. He went too far. If you decide to report him, I understand. I mean, you've been through so much. They almost killed you, and it's partially my father's fault." The guy replied quietly, "I won't file a report. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. Thank you for being there for me. I was told you paid for my treatment. You're a wonderful person, Haley. I've never met anyone like you. And your dad. I hope he will realize what he's done. The prison won't make him any kinder." Haley sobbed and whispered, "Thank you. I hope Daddy will be released now. When will it end? It's like a nightmare. I won't let you go to your shabby house with no living conditions. As soon as you're discharged, we'll rent an apartment and start a new life, just like we dreamed. If you don't mind. After all, I can sell my jewelry. We'll have enough money for the first time." Nicholas nodded weakly and looked at her so tenderly. "I agree. Now everything will be different. Trust me. We will have our own family, and no one can stop us." Soon Alan was released, as Nicholas didn't file any report, and he didn't make any claims against the banker. The man rejoiced. He was finally outside the prison gates and enjoyed the smell of freedom. A car was waiting for him at the gate. The driver opened the door. The businessman thought that his daughter would meet him, but she was not there. When he arrived home, he didn't immediately realize that there were no Haley's belongings at home, and no children's stuff either. But there was a note on the table in the kitchen. "Daddy, don't try to find me. Nicholas and I are together now. Accept it, and don't ruin my life anymore. I don't deserve this." The businessman sat down on a chair and clutched his head. "Old fool, moron, idiot. What have you achieved? What are you left with? You were pushing your daughter, trying to strengthen her temper. But as a result, you lost Haley and your grandchildren." The huge mansion suddenly became so empty and cold. The babies didn't babble. No one cooked delicious breakfasts or waited for him at home. At first, Alan decided to find out who had set him up. He conducted his own investigation and found out that his deputy was working secretly for his competitors, and he ordered to attack Nicholas. He was the one who persuaded the head of the security department to do things their own way, to disobey the boss. Alan fired them, but that didn't make it any easier. It was still sad at home. He desperately missed his daughter and grandchildren, and the guilt was tormenting him. He didn't even apologize to the poor guy. After all, Nicholas almost died because of him. The businessman decided to fix his mistake and beg forgiveness from his daughter and Nicholas. It wasn't a problem to find out the address, and he went to visit them. He was very worried. What if they would not let him in? If so, they'd be right. He'd done so many terrible things to his daughter, even though it was all with good intentions. The family was just having lunch, and the kids were tapping their spoons trying to eat vegetable puree, smearing it funny all over their faces. Suddenly the doorbell rang. Haley tensed up. Who could it be? "We're not expecting anyone. Maybe the landlady is here for something." The young mother went to open the door. Her father stood on the doorstep with a large bag and a bouquet of beautiful scarlet roses. He timidly said, "Forgive me, daughter. I've come to beg forgiveness. Will you let me in? If you kick me out, I'll understand." Haley's heart trembled. She had never seen her father like this before, no arrogance or superiority, and these pleadings to forgive him were so sincere. She could not bear it, and embraced him. "Come in, Daddy. Wash your hands. We are going to have lunch. Join us. Nicholas looked at the businessman incredulously, still not fully believing that he had really come to them with peace and not war. But Alan immediately said, "Hold on, daughter. I'll eat later. I have something important to say. Nicholas, I am very sorry to you. I repent. But I didn't order to kill you. I swear. Forgive me if you can." Nicholas, Haley, I'm so sorry. When I realized that happiness is different for everyone, it was too late. Haley isn't like me, like most people, and I couldn't accept that for a long time. I wanted her to be bold and pushy. I wanted her to inherit my business. And I deliberately made difficulties for her, like examinations, thinking that by overcoming them she would strengthen her temper. And Haley, poor Haley, she endured it and kept quiet for so many years. And when I lost her, I suddenly realized how much I love her, how much I miss her, how much I miss my grandchildren. I've thought everything over, guys, and I'm not going to cause you any more problems. I promise. The guy smiled and shook the businessman's hand. I forgive you, Alan. I'm glad you understood everything. Haley, she's wonderful, amazing. I love her. And I love the babies too. Here, look what I've taught them. Nicholas clapped his hands, and the children clapped back, synchronized, one hand and then the other. Alan took Julia in his arms, then Brandon and David, and began to hug and kiss them. Tears appeared in his eyes. My sweet babies, I missed you so much. Grandpa can't live without you. Then the businessman suggested, Nicholas, if you need help with paperwork, let me know. I'll do everything quickly. I've got connections everywhere. Just give me your date, year, and place of birth, and I will speed up the issuance of a new passport. The guy was happy. Thank you, I'll be grateful. I've been going to all the authorities for 3 weeks now, but no result. Please, write down my data. Alan froze with the notebook in his hand. What did you say? No way. What's your mom's name? The boy looked confused. Kate. Mom has already passed away, unfortunately. Haley's father turned pale and clutched his heart. Haley was frightened. Dad, what's wrong? Are you okay? Here, drink some water. Is it your heart again? Alan came to his senses a little and began to talk confusedly. Oh, it was a long time ago. I was still a student. I liked not only to study but also to go on dates. I had a romance with a girl, Kate. It was a hot, passionate romance, but it didn't last long. She was from a poor family. Her grandmother raised her. My parents didn't like Kate right away, and they tried to convince me that I should break up with that simple girl. Then I had to go to another city for business. For a very long time, she and I separated and our destinies went our separate ways. I thought that my business trip was really urgent, but it turned out that my parents had set it all up on purpose to separate us. They thought I'd come back, forget my fiancé, and marry someone wealthier. But it didn't turn out that way. It was there that I got seriously ill, hypothermia. After that, I was never able to have children. I made a career and built a business, but I never got married. I kept looking for someone like Kate, but I failed. So I took Haley from the orphanage. But it turns out, I have a son. We have to take a DNA test. But I'm pretty sure you are my son, Nicholas. Oh my God, I'm so ashamed. I almost killed my own son. Forgive me if you can. Nicholas was shocked. He just couldn't believe it. Stared at the businessman and mumbled, I don't know. My mom never told me anything about my dad. Give me time. And anyway, we don't know anything for sure yet. Suddenly, Alan begged, Daughter, Nicholas, please come back home. The mansion is huge. It's much more comfortable for 3 kids than a small apartment. And it would be a joy for me. I can't live there alone. I promise I won't interfere in your life anymore. Live the life you want. But please be by my side. The young people fought over the proposal and agreed. Indeed, why waste money on renting an apartment when they have their own house? A DNA test confirmed the blood relation between Alan and Nicholas. But despite this, Their relationship didn't get better right away. The guy didn't trust the businessman for a long time, waiting for some trick or accusation from his side. But as time passed, Alan really changed a lot. He was now not ashamed, but proud of his family. And he tried his best to improve his relationship with his son. He helped his son recover his identity papers and offered him a job at his company. He taught him everything from the basics, and the close daily communication between them was fruitful. Soon father and son became really friendly. They consulted with each other, respected each other's opinions, and finally there was sincere warmth between them. But the businessman also didn't forget about his daughter. On the contrary, he praised Haley and tried to show how much he appreciated and loved her. Their family became truly united and friendly, and in 6 months they decided to organize a magnificent wedding. Now the businessman didn't care what people would talk about them. The main thing is that everyone is happy, and everything else is not important. The children grew up and pleased their parents. Nicholas turned out to be the most faithful, devoted, and caring husband and daddy. And Haley never once regretted that once she spontaneously chose this homeless guy as husband and father. At first, it was just a fate, but very soon it became real. Life is truly unpredictable, and miracles do happen in life.